price. But on to our special segment, Quarter Se Quarter Tak. Mangalam is here today to take us through expectations from the FMCG sector this quarter. Mangalam, over to you.
Well, the FMCG sector is providing some relief in an otherwise IT-battered market today. So before we, deep dive into the expectations, let's put the key result dates for FMCG companies out. We have Nestle and Tata Consumer on April 25th, HUL on April 27th, and the next month we have Dabur, Marico, as well as Asian Paints between May 4th as well as May 11th itself. What is it that we can expect from these companies? So it's looking like we might see a return of volume growth this time around and some gradual improvement in rural demand. However, it looks like urban areas will still outperform rural ones, and we might also see some easing in raw material inflation from the last quarter levels itself, and that will be a welcome change. Let's look at what we already know from the fourth quarter updates. We start with Titan, which had an overall growth of 25% and a jewellery business growth of 23% on a favourable base. GCPL and Marico both reported similar numbers, double-digit revenue growth, mid-single-digit volume growth, and EBITDA growing ahead of revenue. Dabur was an underperformer there because of its divergence from the other FMCG companies, only mid-single-digit revenue growth and margins declining by 200 to 250 basis points. In terms of volume growth expectations, analysts are expecting Asian Paints to post around 10 to 12% volume growth, HUL Britannia in the middling range of 5 to 6%, ITC cigarettes likely to grow between 10 to 12% in terms of volumes, and Nestle too, volume growth of around 4 to 5%. But apart from these numbers, what else should we be keeping an eye on? Given the heat wave, it will be important to watch the performance of summer portfolios of companies. Most important in FMCG numbers is not the numbers, but the management commentary on demand recovery, and importantly, see how rural business is, expected. Importantly, we'll also watch out for what the company is doing with regards to passing the price cuts to consumers, at the same time reinvesting their cost reductions into advertisements and marketing too. And finally, the FMCG sector, which has never been cheap, valuations have always been high. We've seen the valuations come off their highs, and now they're closer to their 10-year averages than what they've been in the past couple of years. So case in point, Marico currently 43 times, 10-year average 37 times. Titan currently 60 times, but 10-year average is at 50 times. Dabur at the 10-year average, as is Britannia. Similar is the case for HUL as well.
Mangalam, thanks very much for that. Abneesh Roy is joining in, Executive Director at Nuvama Institutional Equities. Abneesh, good to have you with us here. Thank you for your time. You heard Mangalam explain the broad expectations and then a little bit company-wise as well. Which of the names, according to you, are positioned in a way which gives room for either, a surprise move higher or a surprise move lower? And which are the most consensus kind of numbers out there amongst these companies, FMCG companies?
Sure, thanks. We'll be having a stronger buy on ITC, Godrej Consumer, Britannia, HUL. So definitely these companies have higher pricing power, more diversified portfolio. If I see the sector, we are seeing acceleration in both revenue and EBITDA growth versus Q3. Q3, the number for revenue growth was 7%, which we now expect 9% for the sector. Similarly, in terms of EBITDA growth, it was 11% YOY in Q3. Now we expect that to be 14%. Clearly, base in rural is helping, and gross margin also, definitely expansion is happening, and that will flow to the EBITDA also. We are also going to see in this quarter, summer portfolio do exceedingly well. So someone like a Varun Beverages or the fruit juice business for Dabur or the ice cream business for Unilever, those should do really well. Even paints and adhesives should see a strong quarter. So in Q3, we had called out that the festival rainfalls had impacted, but now we will see adhesives and paint both come back to high single-digit to double-digit volume growth. What would be challenging in terms of this quarter? We expect companies which have higher rural salience or categories where clearly rural is higher than the sector average, or less diversified companies, they will be laggards. So we expect Colgate, Imami, Dabur to be in the lower tier this quarter. Hopefully in FY24, we would expect some recovery. El Nino continues to remain a key monitorable for the sector. So our topics will be essentially ITC, Godrej, Britannia, HUL. We also like paint stocks from a Q4 perspective, but Grasim entry clearly will be an overhang 1 year down the line.
For ITC particularly, right? I mean, last time it was scorching hot, the numbers, and that cigarette volume growth was what, 15% in Q3. You think it can do an encore this time around? I mean, will it be as good? And what is the kind of upside that you're looking at on the stock?
So ITC, two things, Sonia. One, of course, is On a 4-year basis, the volume growth in cigarette will be fairly similar. So 15% volume growth in Q3 will not be repeated. We expect more like a 11% and 12% also is possible. But on a 4-year basis, the quarter will have similar growth rate like Q3. One more important thing is agri business, the base was quite high in Q4. So X of that, the growth in FMCG cigarette will be strong, but agri business will be an issue. So we have a target price of 450 on ITC, and we expect some upgrades going ahead also because ITC has taken 1 or 2% price hike in the cigarette portfolio, in part of the portfolio, and they'll take more hikes in the balance part of the portfolio.
All right, Abneesh, just hold on to that thought. The Nifty is calling for our attention because the 17,600 mark now has got broken down. So that's clearly a lot of selling that we are seeing. 240 points lower. And I think now all eyes would be on lower levels. The 50 DMA is at around 17,508. So we need to keep an eye out on that mark. And even the 200 DMA is at around 17,558. So that band of 17,500 to 17,550, that consists of the 50 and the 200 DMA. So that's a very, very crucial zone. For the time being, the IT stocks are leading a big sell-off, and that's why we're at the low point of the day. If you're looking for some positives, but the mid-cap index is doing a mild outperformance in today's session. Well, Abneesh, apologies for that. Just need to take stock of the market. From the stocks that you track, any stock you're particularly a little bit cautious on? Which one is that?
Sure. So we remain slightly cautious on United Spirits in the FMCG. Clearly, we are seeing start of the slightly urban slowdown, which started in Q3 and Q4 also will be there. United Spirits will do well in the prestige and above. We expect a 15% kind of a growth. But ad spends will be quite high because BIO portfolio has come back to normal. Ad spends will be high on a reported basis. The sale of the lower end, that will impact the sales and EBITDA. So muted numbers from United Spirits in Q4.
All right. Abneesh, just two other names. One is Varun Beverages. I've been hearing some noise about the Campa brand, which Reliance has gotten to the market. Pricing, etc., is likely to be very aggressive, is what at least one is hearing. That is one. And so what does it mean for Varun Beverages? And you mentioned paints and adhesives. Over the weekend, there was something going around about Pidilite perhaps getting into paints, and is that I don't know if that is a reality. We've not checked with the company, to be fair. But any thoughts there, Abneesh?
Sure. Two questions you have asked. First, I'll take the Pidilite paints, etc. So yes, Pidilite has been present in paints for many years in the exterior paints. What we understand is now Pidilite is also entering the interior deco, but Pidilite normally wants to focus on the core. So my sense is this new development, I don't think will be backed by too much of advertising spends, mass media. And the 3 states which have chosen also, those could be catered by the regional media, which is quite affordable. So my sense is currently Pidilite is also testing waters. So many cement companies coming. So they are also testing waters that is there a niche which they can create in the interior deco. But yeah, as I said, exterior paints Pidilite has been doing for many years, but they have not been aggressive in terms of mass media or even in terms of the distribution connects also. Second question on Varun Beverages. Yes, whatever Reliance does, we track that very closely. In the past, we have seen Reliance take disruptive actions either in terms of pricing or in terms of marketing, etc. So we'll continue to see here. But yes, Varun Beverages near-term growth will be quite strong in Q4. We expect sector-leading volume growth performance to be there. And if El Nino happens, in fact, because of high temperature, Varun Beverages will have a favorable impact. My sense is Reliance will be more of a very long-term impact here. Taste matters, distribution, Visi-Cooler, all those really matter. So what I think Reliance will be focusing on to get regional brands like they have done in Gujarat also. Campa Cola, the brand has been quite dormant. So that will take a lot of time to create really visibility. So I think those would be the key ones. But today also, if you see, Coke has invested in a food tech aggregator. So this space will be competitive. But near-term volume growth for Varun Beverages will be a positive surprise and sector-leading also.
Okay. All right, Abneesh, we leave it at that. Thanks a lot for joining in. So that's, a complete explainer on what you can expect from the FMCG space. I think it's one of the few spaces that will deliver this quarter. But let's get back to talk about